Hello. Okay, I am on two screens right now. Hold on. Let me fix this. Okay, so the mechanics of manifestation. And I have to go live on Instagram and YouTube right now, so I'm kind of talking to two screens, which is new for me. But I really want to dive into this because, first of all, I've experienced a lot of magic. Like, really wild magic, especially lately. It started off with things like having a completely different relationship to pain. Hey, that was like, came on from me being able to fully embrace sensation and relax around into it as the person who could hold that level of sensation, right? And then, after shifting my relationship to pain and having like almost pleasure sensation and sensitivity on a new level, then I started assuming that I would win, right? And I was going to like arcade games and just like hitting the jackpot, right? I was like, that's wild. I've definitely never done that before. And then I was really sitting with my income, and I was really taking that in and looking at the money I had made and really appreciating it. I had a moment of really like tearing up and loving the money that I had made this year. And shortly after that, I get a call that, total surprise, was not expecting that. I am now receiving that same amount of money again as a surprise. And this was for a car accident I was in a while back that I wasn't supposed to get. I was supposed to get like a couple $1,000s. They were like, yeah, this really isn't anything. And when you look at other people's cases, it's like, yeah, I shouldn't have been offered my entire year's revenue as their first offer. And the case manager was actually baffled. She was like, why is this happening? Like, I don't know why that was their first offer, but it was. And it was the exact same number. So it wasn't just like around the same, it was the exact same number. And I knew I had manifested it, right? It's like, this is literally magic. This is how magic works. Now, I want to talk about the mechanics of manifestation and how it works. And this might seem a little backwards, but I actually want to walk you guys through what I'm manifesting right now that I haven't successfully manifested yet. And the reason I want to do it this way, rather than like telling you guys the story of around money or stories around pain, it's like right now I'm in it. And I actually feel like documenting what I haven't been able to manifest as easily highlights the mechanics. Like, it highlights what gets in the way. And it's really important right off the bat that you know that the things getting in the way of your manifestations are mechanical. And I say mechanical because it's so easy to personalize. It's so easy to be like, well, I'm just not good at this. And I just can't do this. As if there's some shortcoming around you as a person. And this is only going to hold you back more because energetics are more mechanical than a lot of people realize. And I'm going to highlight that for you with what I'm currently going through and why it hasn't worked yet. Okay. Because I know why it hasn't worked yet. So let's get into it without knocking over my phone. Okay, what I really am attempting to manifest lately, I guess you could say, even like attempting to manifest is not the right way to put it, but let me just start off with what I'm really wanting is to be chosen. I have this desire my whole life. I want to feel deeply chosen. I want to feel like I have a wait list of clients who want to work with me, and there's just so many people. It's more people than I could imagine who want to work with me, and lots of visibility and all of these things, right? And the reason that that is not my current reality at that level Like I have clients, right? But the level at which I would feel like, "Oh, wow, people are seeking me out." I know exactly why it's not here right now. Okay? And it's because of contradictions. So anytime in your life that you're like, "I want this thing, it feels like this thing is meant for me," but it's not there, it's because there's a contradiction. There's opposing forces in your field. So a really simple way to think about that is part of me wants this and part of me doesn't want this, right? At a most basic level. But even wanting something and being attached to wanting it, that's the first layer of contradiction. We're going to go through a lot of layers of contradiction today as and how this is stopping you. But the first layer of contradiction is I so badly want this thing and I'm so attached to getting this thing, which inherently is you positioning yourself as somebody who doesn't have it. Like already you're like you're in a contradiction right there of like it's on a pedestal over there, doesn't belong to you, doesn't exist in your reality, right? And so that's already a contradiction to you like being a vibrational match for like the person who already has it, right? So there's that. Now let's use this example of being chosen and watching a wait list and all of that. I have a tendency to rush and to chase. And I've been doing this my whole life with many things in my life. Like, I need to go out and get it. I need to just work extra hard. I need to convince people. I need to rally. I need to go. If I am chasing, do you see how that is already another massive contradiction? And this is mechanical in the sense that an energy that is out there chasing cannot be the one who is simply chosen and receiving because the energies don't match. They're opposites. Okay? And so it's okay that that's there. But you have to realize if there's no energetic space for me to be chosen when I have a compulsion to chase. There's no room for it, right? There's no room to be chosen. So there's another layer of contradiction. But these two layers of contradiction, me pedestalizing this thing, putting it as something I don't have, me feeling the need to chase, which doesn't leave any energetic room for being chosen, both of those layers of contradiction are happening because there's deeper layers underneath. There's things within me giving rise to those layers of contradiction. So let's go deeper. Okay. Now here's the real thing is underneath any contradiction in your field, it's going to be attached to a core wounding. So a core wounding is going to be either safety, belonging, or worthiness. So feeling like you're unworthy, like you're not enough, like there's something deficient about you, feeling like you don't belong, or feeling really unsafe. Those are like the main core wounds. And they're actually just part of the human experience because as soon as you become like separate, so you become like separate from your mother and you're this own entity, it's inherently not safe. You're no longer like belonging in the way that you were. And you're no longer like physically you're now having like a separate experience. You're not feeling the inherent like worthiness and oneness with the universe anymore because you're now having like a human experience of separateness. And so it's not that these like wounds should never be there, but they certainly can be amplified by generational patterns, by your own upbringing, childhood trauma, of course, all of those things add to this like extra wounding, right? So for this example of me wanting to be chosen and what energetically is getting in the way of that is unworthiness. So deep within, there's this sense inside of my being that I'm not good enough, essentially, right? That Uh, I what if I actually have nothing to offer? Like, what if I'm not enough, right? And so there's this fear that inherently there's something off about me. So even if I gain a lot of skills or sort of like try to outwork that, there's this sense inside of me of like, what if I'm not enough? Like, what if I'm not good enough? So this creates the next layer of contradiction to the desire to be chosen. Because now, if I'm saying, oh, I want to be chosen, right? Then it's not just like, "Hi." Then it's not just, you know, people think they need what I have, and it's this thing that's separate from me that I'm creating. No, the desire I'm going after is to be chosen. But do you see how that's instantly in contradiction with the unworthiness wound of, "Oh, well, I'm inherently not enough." So again, this is creating contradiction in your field when you have that unworthiness. And that's the neutral mechanical reason why thank you, why it's not instantly in your reality. Because the fact is, when there is no contradiction, when you're in full coherence, it's instantly yours because underneath everything is an undivided field of oneness. So you're already these things that you want are already yours. They're already a state of being within you, right? It's already there. And so when you come into full coherence with that, there isn't any actual separation anymore between you and this thing. And so it's instantly yours. Okay. But let's dig a little deeper into this contradiction around feeling like you're not enough, right? So if you're feeling like you're not enough, then of course you're not going to be chosen in the same way. But what that also gives rise to is yet another layer of contradiction. When you feel like you're not enough, you feel you have to prove. If you're in the energy of proving, which I often am, you cannot, again, there isn't enough energetic room to be chosen. Not only do you end up in the energy of proving, it can become very easy to slide into the energy of saving. Because when you attempt to save someone, like you're not okay, whatever you're doing isn't okay, but I have the answer and I can come and like fix this thing for you. I can come and save you in this way. When you are in that energy, you attract victim mentality. You attract people who are like, I don't think I can do this, but maybe you can save me. And it makes sense that if you feel like you're not enough, you're going to want to save because it's like, well, I know I can help with this thing that I know they're doing wrong. And like, maybe I can just like get in there and like make it happen for them and like save them from that. And then because it feels like then you have something to really point to and like fall back on. And you could be like, no, 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 no. Like I'm over delivering. Like I'm really doing this thing for them. And that gives you a sense of like, okay, like it's okay if I'm not enough because I figured out how to do this thing and I can just like do that. And again, there's nothing like wrong with that. Like you can make tons of money doing that, right? Even in, you might not be attracting people who are like total victims, right? I'm not saying that. But it doesn't leave room for this desire of being magnetic and chosen. Because people who are in this state of victim, even a little bit of victim, where they're like, I don't think I can do this. I don't have this figured out. This person can save me. This person can fix this. Then they're not in this like sovereign state of being where they're choosing you. You see that? So it's like because they're in this, okay, I don't think I'm all right with this. This person can save me. They're not choosing that from their most empowered state. Therefore, you're not really chosen. Do you see what I mean? And you're going to have to employ all of these tactics that feel like pushing and feel like grabbing and chasing because what you're putting out there feels the need to rest on saving to like justify itself, which doesn't leave room for people to choose. So there it is, another contradiction to the desire to be chosen in that way. Okay. And this just like pops up all over the place because if in anywhere in your life you're playing savior because you don't feel like enough, somewhere else in your life you're playing victim because you don't feel like enough, which can influence the way you invest. It can influence the way you take action in your life or business. And more likely than not, you're not fully trusting yourself, which means you're also not taking the actions and making the moves that would set you up to be your highest self who is chosen. So again, it's not personal. It's not, oh, you're bad at manifestation or like, whatever. I would consider myself I'm already considering myself a manifestation master. I'm like, when I have removed contradiction, when I have removed contradiction between me and cash, or contradiction between me and pleasure, contradiction between me and winning, when I have removed those contradictions and taken things off the pedestal and come into just like, of course, an assumption of this is my reality, it's instantly there. Instantly. But that's the thing is we're all masters at this. And then it becomes about, can I bring enough awareness to see with neutrality what mechanically is getting in the way of what I want, what I know is mine, manifesting? And so when I look at this desire and I'm like, okay, so I don't instantly have this, why is that? It's all of these contradictions at play, which also is again, back to the very obvious contradiction of part of me doesn't want it. Because if part of me is afraid that I'm unworthy, that's what leads to a lot of imposter syndrome too, right? Where you're like, because the caliber of people that I'm meant to be serving who just come to me and fill out the application, if I'm afraid they're going to see that underneath it all, I'm not actually worthy, right? I don't want that highlighted. I don't want that amplified. Of course I don't. Like, then I'm not going to want massive visibility right away in an inbox full of messages because my little ego, and it's not my whole self, but like part of me is still in that. It's still like having a death around that, having a shedding around that. I can say it's changing rapidly and massively. I can feel it. And I'll say that when things are about to shift in a really big way, it feels really intense. Like it starts to feel like just before all that money was offered, even, it was like I was in the throes of scarcity. It's like because I'm there making space for like the sensation, it's like trudging through the mud and the caves of the shadows to realize the light underneath and having faith that it's there. So I've got to feel all the sensation associated with being unworthy, which isn't a fun sensation. It's like shame and emptiness. It's beyond all logic, right? But allowing that sensation and not like labeling it as a bad thing, but allowing it to be what it is, allowing it to be the initiatory process that it is, not wallowing in it, not telling stories around it, not getting stuck in it, nothing like that. I'm talking about physical sensation. I'm talking about like, what is this actually doing in your body? Fully allowing that level of discomfort and still being able to relax and not take action from a place of trying to alleviate that discomfort. Because that right there is why manifestation will take a lot longer, is because you're feeling something very intense that you want to avoid feeling. And you already have like set patterns and ways of acting in your life that subtly alleviate that intensity and that pain. So it's easiest and you're used to doing things a certain way that actually like lull that a little bit, like makes it a little less intense in your body. And when you do that, you're just further ingraining the same patterns, and you're not able to like shake it up enough to come into this new thing because you're kind of just reinforcing what's already there. And so you've got to be okay, like radically okay with the uncertainty and the discomfort. Because if you can actually just feel it, you can see that the story around it is not true. And it was never true. And when you're not taking action from a place of just trying to avoid that feeling, you can start taking like actual aligned action, like clear actual action based on what you really want. And when you're taking clear action based on what you really want, you're making space. So again, like energetics can either make the energy with, by energetics, I mean the energy with which you take action. So the energy with which you take action, who you're being when you take action, is either making space for more of what you want, or it's doing the opposite. It's like taking up all of the space and like making things chaotic and not leaving room for what you want to come in. And on the surface, these actions can actually look really similar. So for example, let's say posting on social media. I could be posting on social media every day from the energy of, I need to chase, where's my next client? What do I do? And I could even, let's just for the sake of it, say that I'm even using a lot of the same words. Like maybe it's the same like content plan. I don't make content plans, but let's say it is the same content plan, but I'm doing it from that energy. Versus, let's say I take the same action, posting every day, going for it, but I'm fully in the energy of the person who is chosen. Like I'm literally choosing myself, fully chosen, fully in that. And I show up to serve. I show up because this is what needs to be said. This is what's coming through me. This is what I believe will help others. And every action I take is one of already being chosen, which then just creates space for people to choose themselves. It doesn't attract any victim mentality at all. It attracts a totally different thing. It attracts people who want to choose themselves, and there's space for that. Even though my output is the same, even though I'm taking just as much action and I'm posting on social media just as often, I'm doing it in a different energy. And that's the basis of energetics. It's like when people get really caught up in, but I'm doing all the things and I'm taking all the action and I'm going and I'm going and I'm going, it's like, well, what is the energy with which you're doing that? Because it's not nothing. It really matters, because it's like if you're in this, even just the simple example of like clients, if you're in this zone of like, I need to get clients, they can feel that energy, and it leaves no room for them to come to the conclusion themselves and to realize, as a sovereign being, I choose myself in this space that she's created. That's a really different thing. But the fear and the doubt and the like, oh, well, this person's saying this strategy works, and this person's saying this things works, and this person's saying I need to just make my messaging more clear, and this person's saying I need to just have a better website, and this person's saying I need, it can get really loud out there. And it's not that any of those actions are incorrect. It's not that you shouldn't get better at messaging or like have a good website or whatever. It's the energy with which you do it. It's the energy with which you post. It's the energy with which you invest. It's the energy with which you have a conversation with somebody who could be a client. And that is either making space for what you know to be already yours and for you to just literally have no contradiction between you and it versus you making a mess and taking up so much space that what you're trying to get has nowhere to land. It has nowhere to it's a contradiction. So it can't happen as quickly, at least. It might still happen, but it'll take longer. And it won't be what you thought it was, right? It won't be what you're really after. So anyway, that's how that works. I have so much more I could say on this, but I wanted to give you some of my own just like insight from going through this myself. And I can share more too. I mean, let me know in the comments what you want to know more about. Like I can share more about the shift with money. I can share more about like the ups and downs that happened there. And just other contradictions that I notice in myself and in others. Because I really do believe that the contradictions are ultimately simple. Like it sounds complex because I'm laying them all out, but I do believe that like every contradiction can probably, I mean, I guess we'll see as I work with more and more people, but I think that every contradiction can probably be boiled down to those three core wounds of just feeling like not enough, feeling you don't belong, or feeling unsafe. And also can basically usually express themselves in some capacity in the drama triangle of victim, savior, prosecutor. And so when you're stuck in that triangle, you're in the game no matter which role you're playing. So you will inevitably experience all sides of that triangle when you're in it. And I think that it's really like the interplay of these two things that creates like what can feel like a very multi-layered situation of contradiction of like why this like I can't be chosen because I keep chasing because I don't feel good enough. I don't feel good enough because and it's like and then I feel I have to prove and then I want to help and then I when I go to do that then it's just victim and savior and it's like it can feel like a lot and it can feel like so many layers, but it's actually simple when you really get down to the core of it. It's not that complicated. It's like, let's meet this core need in your system. And that's what I like to do with my clients is we find a way to meet that core need in the body and offer that in the body without having to think about it like all the time. Like I'd use actual movements and do that on a regular basis, meeting these needs inside of my body. That's a really good way to start shifting these things. But also, it does actually just really boil down to can you, with neutrality, please, without personalizing it, without judging yourself, without thinking you can't do it, right? If you can just, with neutrality, like pretend you're playing a video game, like with neutrality, look at, okay, here's where I usually take this action. And it's like, that's when things kind of go the way they normally go in your life. Like, let's say you want more clients. Here's when I normally start chasing, or here's when I normally like do this. You catch it. You catch it and you don't take action the way you normally would. And you instead hold space for the intensity of what you're feeling on a physical level divorced from thought. So that's what I did with the other manifestations, and that's what I'm doing here. But it helps me to also see why it's not instantly mine, why it's not already here, because we can validate these things in ourselves and be like, oh, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense. There's part of me that doesn't want it. And sometimes you're going to have a contradiction where part of you really doesn't want it. And you've got to listen to that part. Like, we want to hear from it. There's always a way to harmony But it's not gonna come from you being like, "Well, that part's just wrong, and I don't wanna listen to that part." I like, listen to the part that is wanting the status quo because they have a reason for that. There's something protective about it. There's something that's helping you on some level, or at least thinks it is. So you always want to ask that question and allow yourself to go through your death and rebirth portal here in your own way. Because it's not always going to be easy. Sometimes it'll be really easy. It'll be like, oh, I just started assuming this about my reality and it shifted. And now I hit the jackpot, you know? Other times it'll be a deeper wound that's getting, you know, poked at. And, holding space for what that brings up can be very intense, something like fear or shame. It's like, woo, you feel that full potency on a physical level. Your mind wants to jump in and tell you to take action in the way that you normally have. And that's when, you know, it's best not to think. Because when you're in like nervous system overdrive, when you're in fight or flight, that's really not the time to contemplate. Contemplation is reserved for rest and relaxation. Contemplation is very important. I'm all about how did I come up with this? I'm contemplating things. I'm thinking about them. But when you're like in the intensity of it, that's not the time to contemplate. I I fully believe that is not the time. Like that is the time when I simply trust that being the version of me on the other side of this is more important than anything. Like, and by that, I always like, I don't even have to like think about that or fully conceptualize it. Like, I don't have to always go on a whole visualization journey or have this like cognitive understanding of where I'm headed. Cause I feel like that can be asking a lot when you're kind of like freaking out. This comes up for people a lot with financial scarcity, right? It's like, I want to act the way I normally act. And so instead, that's why I always have us tie the higher self state to a movement, but even more so than that, it's like you've gotta trust that you can handle the way you feel, and to just pause, to, like, really just pause and really just be like, "You know what? Okay. Yeah. No matter what, I'm gonna get through this in the way that I'm meant to, and notice everything that comes up with neutrality, with neutrality." And honestly, I feel like that's the fast track. Like that's really it works. It works really, really well. When I was at the height of feeling scarcity, it was like the very next day that I got that call about all that money. Like it really is that fast because I made peace with it. I made peace with what I was feeling physically. I didn't have to entertain every story or go down every road that my thoughts wanted to go down. I just felt it. It's so simple. But I think, again, looking at this mechanically is just so much easier. Of like, this isn't personal, you know, this is a feeling that I haven't wanted to feel, which has created a pattern around whatever wounding this is, the safety, the unworthiness, right? Like whatever it is that's getting triggered here, it's created actions that I take and patterns in my life that cause me to act in a certain way that is in direct contradiction to the thing I want, like chasing when you want to be chosen, for example. And when you can really look at that neutrally, you're like, oh, this just like, I just need new computer programming. Like I'm like a computer and I need new programming. And the way that I'm going to have new programming is by being okay with the sensation. and not running the same program I normally run. And then there's more. There's always more. So I think I'm going to keep going live and just talking about this from different angles. But let me know what y'all thought about this, what questions you have, what it brought up for you, and we'll get into it some more. All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye.